What drives you? What inspires you? Let's ignite your why. Welcome back to Ignite Your Why podcast. I'm your host, Austin T. Gullett, and we're here to have genuine conversations with authentic people to help amplify their voice and figure out what ignites their why. Today, we have the honor to catch up with future Dr. Lauren Prather. We last heard from Lauren in Season 2, Episode 5, or 2.5, Be Someone No One Imagined You Could Be. So if you haven't listened to that episode, make sure you go back, check it out. The link will be in the bio below. So with that being said, Lauren, I'm so excited to catch up with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me back. I was like, oh, I'm a returner.
I have been putting so much thought into this season, and I was like, okay, I knew I kind of wanted to do it. I didn't know if I wanted to do it in season 5 or whatever, but I like the concept behind it. And I was like, Lauren was on season 2, and I really enjoyed that episode. So I was
Oh,
like, I
thank
want to bring
you.
Lauren back.
Yeah.
So the last time we talked was in July of 2021,
Wow.
almost 2 years ago. So what has been going on? How have you been? What's been up?
Yeah, so that has been a while. 2 years is almost 2 years is a really long time. I feel like it's a long time mentally in my brain, but everything has still been in progression. I feel like I probably told you all about my doctoral journey a little bit, and I'm still I'm at the process, but what we call it, I'm at the stage of dissertating. So I'm in the final stages where I will defend my dissertation this summer, and I will walk in December. So I will probably, if I come back for a third time, I have a new title. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing and working collaboratively with Children's Hospital doing my research as well. And just doing all those great community things, working with Basla, the National Black Association for Speech Language and Hearing, along with our podcast, Speech Tea with the Laurens. So yeah, I'm just and then trying to live life as best as I can.
Staying busy, staying busy.
Yeah,
I just want to say I'm proud of you, because I know
thank
when we
you.
first started talking, you were in the beginning stages of your PhD program. And I was like, I know she's close to finishing. So I was like, I have to get her back on and just see how things are going. And congratulations, early congratulations, because
Thank
I know you're
you.
going to do your dissertation well and you're going to
Thank
be
you.
Dr. Lauren Prather. So
Thank
excited
you.
for you. I know the last time we talked, I remember you mentioning sometimes people try to put you in a box,
Mm,
right?
mhm,
Especially just with how you grew up and where you come from. And I believe you mentioned that you were the only African American woman within your program at
mhm,
UC for your
mhm,
doctorate program.
mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about that journey, because I know in the beginning you were kind of right there. So now that you've had time to be in it and kind of find out your path and your journey, what has
Mhm.
that been like for you?
Yeah, so honestly, I'm no longer the only black one. We do have another black
Period.
person. Yeah. So that's really exciting and to see that elevation. So, it's been an interesting time even in our country amidst diversity, equity, inclusion. But I've been getting a lot of support backing, people starting to around me in the environment of being at University of Cincinnati, really seeing their actual support and what that looks like and the valuement. So it's been a better place. I think it took time to realize that sometimes you can't fit anybody in a box, and what they deem themselves, you can't stop that, and that their light's just going to outshine, and you just have to allow them to grow out of that space. And so yeah, so it's been really good, like seeing, allowing, especially like with my department, communication sciences and disorders, like being in this place of like going to different conventions, especially like in Basel, and them allowing them to see you in your element. And
Mhm.
that looks different from traditionally of what it would look like, on campus, and seeing you really, make a difference, or make sure that an association is doing, on the move and doing the things that it's doing for the community as well. So yeah, it's been good. I presented nationally with my dissertation research. That's been great, and I actually got an award for my poster. A bit, so it was a big deal, and I didn't really know. It's been good. Like I just feel supported now. I feel a little more. I would say I feel like there was probably some support, but I didn't see it as much as I do now.
Right.
And so yeah, so that's.
I think it's interesting just like going back to like 2 years ago when we were having that conversation, there was always, I felt like there was that stressor for you because you were like, oh fuck, I don't know where this is going, or like we were in the beginning stage, and like now like you're radiant in confidence and you can see it, and like you just seem
Oh, thank
happier and
you.
lighter, and like you're
Mhm.
towards the end. So it's kind of come full circle. So it's kind of exciting to see and kind of hear from you. And by
Yeah.
the way, happy Speech Language Pathologist Day.
Yay! Thank
So
you.
I know this episode will come out next week, but today when we're recording is Speech Pathologist Day. And I
Yeah.
just think it's kind of full circle.
Yeah.
So, speaking of speech language pathologist,
Mhm.
for the people who aren't necessarily familiar with
Mhm.
that role,
Mhm.
what is it and why is it important?
Yeah, so speech language pathologists, so we're under a umbrella called communication sciences and disorders, where it's speech pathologists and audiologists. So you have speech pathologists who work with communication disorders. So a lot of people may be more familiar with like stuttering,
Hmm.
maybe some swallowing issues like post stroke, language, cognition, um, speech sound disorders. Those children who like may have a lisp. Those are who we're geared towards helping, but it's like a big nine of things that we target out, in general. And so then you have the audiologists, which are the hearing specialists, who the ones that do the hearing aid checks, give you health updates about your ear, auditory processing, and those different things. So basically, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the speech teacher and that kid that always gets pulled out for speech. That's pretty much what we are and what we do. So, yeah, we're a part of an umbrella of allied health specialists. So, under the
Hmm.
list of like physical therapists, occupational therapists, and then you have speech language pathologists or speech
I
therapists.
became real familiar with speech therapy because I don't know if you know or remember, but my
Hmm.
brother actually had a stroke back in November. So
Mm,
I would sit in with him during like speech therapy, and he's still not like where he once was. He
hmm.
does have that like speech impediment now, but
Hmm.
it was just interesting to see like the process behind it, because
Hmm.
it's like he was reading paragraphs and they're like, okay, that needs to be like within like 4 to 5 seconds, and you're at 11 to 12. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
there's so much that goes into this. And then like his speech therapist would be sitting there like looking at me, and she's like, did you hear that? And I'm like, kind of like, I don't really know what I'm looking for, but she would continuously ask me, she's like, did you hear that? Did you hear that one? And I'm just like, I'm not really knowing what I'm supposed to be listening for. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. She was excited about probably the progress he was making and wanted you to hear the differences and the subtleties of it all. It's so great. Like that's beautiful. It's a beautiful session that she had with you
yeah,
involved.
it's definitely like, I definitely think like the work you guys do is super important, and
Thank you.
I feel like it doesn't really get noticed as much. Because I
Mm-mm.
know like kids that I grew up with, well, or not kids anymore, but
Mhm.
people that I
Yeah.
grew up with that like would come in and they would be like, I have to go to speech, and they would be pulled out of
Yeah.
class, and
Hmm.
you never really realize if you don't have that speech impediment, like, or that
Hmm.
thing you need to work on, like you don't realize the importance of it. And I
Hmm.
think, just want to say thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Oh,
And
thank you.
you're just, I just think you're amazing. I feel like everything
Thank
that you're
you.
doing now is amazing. And I follow your podcast and I've seen kind of the growth. I
Hmm.
was doing my research a little bit, and you guys launched your podcast back in 2020, and
Yeah.
you have over 5,000 downloads, and you're
Yeah.
across 44 plus different countries. So like you're making moves, and it's
Yeah. Thank
exciting.
you.
So since we're speaking of your podcast, it's called
Yeah.
the Speech Tea Podcast with the Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
It's with future
Me.
Dr. Lauren Prather and
Yeah.
future Dr. Lauren blanking on
Hastings.
Hastings. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
blanking on her name right now.
Yeah.
But could you tell us a little bit more about that podcast? How did it become about? What do you guys talk about, and where can the people find it?
Yeah, so we're all on all podcast platforms that we know, but so Speech came from, well, Lo, I call her Lo, and then she calls me LP, and um it's funny because it was a phone conversation. A lot of times we would talk on the phone and just talk about like different issues, and not just within our field, but how it impacts our community. And a lot of times we feel that, the conversations that we had just stay within the professionals that work in it, and the community never really hears. And so she said that I said, I really don't remember, but I said, we should do a podcast. And she was like, okay. And she did all like the background research on it, and then we came up with the concept and how it would go. But we thought what would make it interesting is actually like having actual tea, and also having like social media tea, because people love like the
The
everyday
gossip.
gossip. Yeah. So it was like we can draw the community in that way. We're meeting everybody where they are, and so, and then bring in the topic that we talk about. So we try to talk about varying different things that may be in the news media, or just in our field in general, or just little things that are talked about within the Black community, but always are kind of hidden. So like different from elements of like adult ADHD was our latest episode. We talked about first generation students and success, and what that looks like in higher education and getting more people in our field. We've talked about being Black with autism. We talked about Black language. We talk about so many different elements that you wouldn't think would impact our field, but it actually really does. So we try to stay within to help our community grow. And when I say our, I'm talking about the Black community, but it's anybody can listen to it and learn from it. It's not just for Black people, but it's geared towards them to expand their knowledge, so they can also have some support if this is affecting their lives in any kind of way.
Hey, you know what they say, knowledge is power, right? And I
Yeah.
think I think even though if it's not directed towards your specific person, like a specific person, you can
Mhm.
always learn and grow from things, right?
Oh
And I think
yeah.
that's the thing, is educating yourself,
Mhm.
especially with everything that's happened in this world over the last 2.5, 3 years. I think
Yeah.
education is important, and learning
Mhm.
and growing and understanding other cultures and other
Mhm.
like ethnical backgrounds is super important. And I think the
Yeah.
work you're doing is important. So hopefully we can help promote your podcast and get you some more
Yes.
listeners. I love
Yeah.
collaborating with other
Oh yeah.
podcasters, so it's
Us
super
too.
important.
Yeah,
If
I
you
do
ever
too.
need a guest, I don't know what I could talk about. I feel like
I was about to say I need to have you on our podcast. We're finishing up season 3, and then when we gear up for season 4, I get definitely got you.
I mean, I can talk about, I don't know. We'll
we'll,
figure it
we'll
out.
figure it out.
We'll figure it
Yeah,
out. We'll figure it
we
out.
got you.
No, but my question for you is kind of like, you've been on this journey for the last 2 years. So what's next? What's next for Lauren
Mhm.
after you're done with your PhD program?
Whew, well, it's been longer than 4. I mean 2 years. But I'm just really allowing God to move in the way that He moves. So I'm a faith-based girl, and the way that I even got into my doctoral degree was because He told me to go back to school. And it wasn't, so it's not really my dream, but I'm allowing the past to flow, and just
Hmm.
really kind of finding and honing in on some of my skills and gifts that I didn't realize that I've inherited as well. So one of the things is I want to continue doing research. So I plan to hopefully continue doing that, especially working with my project. Um, and then also I still want to teach. I think train a child in the way that he should go, and not to say that students are children, but they're new to our field, and so you want to bring a diverse array of what that looks like, and that it's not a one-sided field, but that we do have a dynamic of where we have different what we call minority groups within our field, and just knowing that all communities that you work with are not going to be matched to you, so just exposing um, them through that, and then also really doing some of the ideal dreams that I have for MBASLA, which is again the National Black Association for Speech Language and Hearing. There's some elements that I want to like keep pushing or pouring into. So I have some little things. I don't want to say it too much because I feel I don't want to tell it, because it takes away from the element of surprise. Not
Yeah.
to say that anybody would know, but like there's some things I want to do with them as well as some big projects. So That's
I
where I'm
mean, you don't gotta tell everyone everything you're
at.
doing. We
Yeah.
it's okay to move in silence.
Okay, okay, okay.
Like it's okay to make moves in silence, and then once it happens, you're like, drop the mic.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And of
I
course push our podcast too. Like I think
mhm.
the more time that we both have away from school, someone can delve into other things more. So yeah, it's yeah, it's a lot of great things coming.
I feel you on like pushing the podcast because like when you're so busy, it's kind of hard to like put 100% into something, right?
Mhm,
And I know, I believe isn't Lauren also
mhm,
doing her program as well? Are you
mhm.
guys finishing near the same time or?
No. So I'm finishing and she's starting.
Oh shit. Well, good for her. Good for her.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm out. I'm
Yeah.
out.
So I'll probably take over for a little while. She's gonna support, but I'll probably take the reins a little bit more. But I think that's the great thing about a partnership, and when you have that understanding, you can like balance it out as well. So yeah,
I'm telling you right now, if I didn't have my friend Devon, like my best friend, helping me with this, I wouldn't be able to do it. Just
yeah,
because like there's so much that goes into podcasting that I feel like people don't understand or realize. But I feel like we can kind of bounce off each other here is like just growing your network and growing that like
mhm,
listenership is something that I'm kind of struggling with. But I
yeah,
also feel like I need to pour more into it, right? When you're
yeah.
pouring from an empty cup, it's kind of hard to
Mhm.
get the results you want. So it's like, okay, now I need to truly invest into this. And I'm trying to like, that's why I
Wait,
started YouTube. Want to take it to the next level.
yeah, and that's another thing we have. We have a YouTube page, but I think there's like one video, but we have all the seasons on video, which is crazy. But we haven't had the time to really like
Upload them.
upload it. Yeah, so
You're just gonna have to do a mass upload one day and just be like,
look,
they are all available.
yeah, it's out here. Yeah, so I get it. It's a lot, and I love like your growth. I watch you all the time on
Oh,
social
thank
media,
you.
and then I'll be like, oh my god, like I gotta learn how to do that. Like he knows how to do the cool things, and I'm really proud of you. You really, I know you kind of went quiet a little bit, and then you just came back, and I was just like,
Hmm.
okay, look at him.
Thank you, thank you. I feel like I needed that break, just because I needed to deal with things
Mhm,
personally and mentally, and just wasn't in the right headspace. So I
mhm.
knew it wasn't gonna be authentic, and the
Yeah.
content wouldn't be worth it at that point because it kind of
Mhm.
takes away from the whole purpose of the podcast, right? We're here to have
Yeah.
authentic conversations with
Mhm.
real, genuine people. So if
Yeah.
I'm not being genuine and authentic myself, then it
Mhm.
just defeats the purpose. But I do appreciate the kind words. It feels
Yeah.
good to kind of be recognized and people see the growth because it's a lot.
It is.
But if you ever need like help with anything like graphics or different things of that nature, we can have a conversation offline and I can
Yes, let's
kind
do
of
that.
teach you those things. I'm always down to help people. So just trying to
Yeah.
give back to my community.
Yeah, I love it. Let's see, we got a podcast community. We
We
should go to
do.
a
And that's the thing is podcasters have to stay together.
we
And I
do.
think the hardest thing as a podcaster sometimes is it's so easy to compare, right? Compare
Yeah.
yourself to other people like, oh, like
Mhm.
this person's doing that, they're doing that, they're getting this amount of listenership and like it's just so
Mhm.
easy to see like other people's successes. But
Yeah.
the one thing I'm trying to remind myself is like my journey is unique to me, right?
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I tell people my like podcast numbers and they're like that's actually really good, right?
Yeah.
Like I average, I would say like 70-ish listeners per episode.
That's good.
So and like I have like 74 subscribers on Spotify and just like it's like they're like you're like oh
Yeah.
like that's good and to me I'm
Yeah.
like oh it can be better.
Yeah.
But I
It
think that's the thing is we're our biggest critics.
Yeah, and I think too, I think sometimes we also compare people ourselves to people who are like celebrities that get
Hmm.
like them thousands of views, but their following matches like their Instagram numbers. And then or also people who've been in the field in their fields for a while or who have gotten like a lot of social media light. And so it's like you really can't you should want the slow growth, right? Like the tortoise in the
Hmm.
hare. And not to say that they had that tortoise in the hare moment too, but like that's the stage we're on. And so I think also too, as podcasters, all of our podcasts aren't the same. Like they're very different. They're very
Mm-hmm.
structured differently, style, and all of that. Like so, and I listen to another one of my friends' podcasts, but I'm gonna add you in there too when I do work. Listen to your podcast.
Oh, thank
Throw that
you.
in the rotation so you got that. Yeah. So it's just yeah, we gotta support each other. I just that comparison spirit, we gotta let that go. But you're
And
doing
I think
great.
that's the thing is like I try to share people's stuff. I try
Hmm.
to tell people to listen, especially when I collaborate with other podcasters. I think leading up I can promote like your podcast and things of that nature. And I think that's just kind of the growth, right? Is
Hmm.
just connecting with others and being on podcasts and branching out because
Hmm.
you never know whose audience you can connect with just
Hmm.
by making an appearance on a show. So
Yeah,
hopefully you
definitely.
get some listeners from this show. So
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna post you. So we do shout out Saturdays. So like when you do my little graphic, I'm gonna post it on our page, and I post it on my personal page, and I'll even get my friends to repost you. You know, sometimes it takes you just sharing it with your peers or your community,
mhm.
and then they repost it and they repost it, and
It takes a village.
it
And I,
does.
I tell people all the time is like the only way like so it's kind of weird. I'm gonna go into like a little spiel of what I tell people is just like if I
Yeah.
have guests on my podcast, I have the same audience pool, right? I'm gonna hit the
Right.
same people every single time.
Hmm.
But to share your story, to get it to your people, it
Yeah.
takes you to share it.
Yeah. It does. It really does. Yep.
So it all comes full circle. But
It
I kind of
does.
want to circle back to something we kind of touched on a little bit.
Okay.
I mentioned like for me, just like giving back to the community, and I love doing that.
Hmm.
And I know last time I asked you a question, and it was what ignites your why, right? And you
Yes.
talked about giving back to the community and
Hmm.
leaving a path for others behind you.
Hmm.
But I know for as time goes on, like our purpose changes, our vision changes.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna ask you again, what is it now that inspires you? But more importantly, what ignites your why?
Woo, what ignites my why? I think selflessness, I would say, ignites my why now. Just really like how you were saying before, like you don't realize your impact that you make on people's lives, and just continuing to follow in the purpose and knowing that it's bigger than me. So I guess it
Mhm.
still is a little bit the same, but and still wanting better for those places and spaces that I'm in, or allowing me to use what I'm supposed to use in that moment for that group or for that person, and knowing that I gave my all and I was authentically me, and it was a gift, like my talent that was shared or whatever in that space, and just being able to know like I did my part, like I did what I was supposed to do, and giving my best in spaces. So like just knowing that it's for the greater good, and it's just yeah, it's just a bigger purpose like than what I'm seeing in the moment.
Right. It's a lot bigger than you. And I think sometimes, like when we have this mentality,
Hmm.
because I feel like we can relate in that sense where people pleasers, we love to give back, we love to
Hmm.
make a difference. But I feel like I have this conversation all the time with people. Is like sometimes when we're doing that, we get lost, right? We
Hmm.
lose ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why you mentioned like I went ghost for a little while, is because like
Hmm.
genuinely like lost myself. Like I
Hmm.
wasn't where I wanted to be. I
Hmm.
wasn't authentically living my
Hmm.
purpose in my life. Like I was living for others in a sense.
Hmm.
And it just got so tiring and so exhausting that
Yeah.
it's okay to sometimes take a step back and be like, okay, like I gotta put myself first, which is
Yeah.
still hard,
It
but
is hard, right? It's so funny that you say that, because that's a continual common theme that I'm hearing, is that it's okay to be selfish. Like you have to rest. Like you can't be who you are to other people if you are not who you are. I mean that,
hmm
and that also comes from like therapy, and I guess my significant other who values rest in so many different spaces just because of the busyness. But once you exhaust yourself, it's like you lose your drive, you lose your joy, and it's almost like it's like you're done, like that burnout mode kicks
hmm
in, and you try
because it's
to.
like you want to make that difference and you want to continue to have an impact, but if you're
Mhm.
not taking care of yourself, then how can you take care of other people?
Right, exactly.
And that's the biggest thing is like I try to tell myself like be selfish, and it's just like, but Susie needs help.
Right. And you know what? But you know, Austin, even in the moments where you don't feel like helping, you're gonna get rewarded for that extra push of exhaustion. Like there's
Mhm.
gonna be like something gonna happen for you, or a situation where grace is upon you, or something that you didn't think was gonna happen is gonna happen, and so you have all of that. So you have to know that you're gonna be blessed for that.
I
I always
literally
tell myself that. I was like,
I literally was just before we hopped on this call, I literally sent a Snapchat to my friends and I was like, am I mentally exhausted right now? Absolutely. Am I about to record a podcast episode? Absolutely. I was like, do I have a parent player meeting tonight for soccer? Absolutely. But I'm going to push through and I'm going to do it. But
yes,
tomorrow is going to be a very relaxed day. I will
yes,
say this week has just been mentally exhausting because of things that have
mm-hmm.
been going on at work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, okay, the weekend's gonna be here. We got a
Yeah.
big match for FC Cincinnati,
I
so
was
I'm
about to
looking
say,
forward
are
to
you
that.
still working with FC Cincinnati?
I don't work there.
Okay. Okay. I'm
I
sorry.
did. No, 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 no. I did
Okay.
leave. I left 2 years ago, actually.
Oh. Oh.
A little over 2 years. I left in October of 21.
Okay.
So, just been. I work at a nonprofit now, and
Nice.
just love the work that I do, and just love being
Yeah.
able to give back to my community.
Yeah.
I
That's
think that's the
dope.
theme.
Yeah. I always say like, I just want to be rich and be a philanthropist. Like.
Right. I literally was like, why can't I be rich? Why
Yeah.
can't I like work for myself and do the things I want to do? And it's crazy how you said that is because like I was having a conversation with one of my friends the other day, and I was like, if I ever won the lottery, I was like, I would donate to this nonprofit, this charity, and that was like my mind. Like my mind didn't go to like
Mhm.
I wanted to buy all these luxury things. It was like
Right.
I want to give this money back to help
Hmm.
make a difference, and I'm just like, be selfish,
I
take
was
the
thinking.
money.
Right, I was thinking that too. I was like, if I got 40 million, so I was thinking that like earlier this week, like about $40 million. I was like, okay, I would give something here, help the church, do this over here, pour in some scholarships for Black people to get in speech pathology. Like I was like, yeah, I was like sorting all the things too. And I was like,
Everything but yourself. Like
right,
I did say I would build a house for myself and like my parents and my brother.
oh
So
yes,
like,
that's
but other than that, I was like, I'm gonna
yeah.
just not give it all away, but like I'm gonna give some away.
Yeah, you didn't think about like I need to buy Dior, I need my Louis Vuitton. You wasn't thinking like that. You
Mm-mm.
was thinking like, okay, this will help this, and this will help this situation, and then I could rebuy a house for this people because I know they were trying to. Yeah, like yeah, I got
We're on the same wavelength. We
you.
understand each other. Some people are probably like, y'all are tripping.
Right. I
But
was like,
that's just our hearts and that's just who we are.
yeah.
So the last time we talked, I have a very important segment. It's my favorite segment. We
Okay.
talk about mental health, right?
Whew.
The last time we talked, we were fresh like off of 2020, and
Mm,
2021 was still a shit show, I should say,
yeah.
just with like the pandemic and everything else that was going on. But over the last two years, what have you been doing for yourself? How has Lauren been taking care of Lauren?
Okay, honestly. So I go to a therapist. I'm not as consistent with her because I'm sorry, but therapy is very expensive. But when I do, just using carrying over the strategies that she has. Sometimes for my self care, I've been really still struggling in that area just
Hmm.
because I feel like I have so much to do. But when I do, when I just do what I want. So let's say I just want to binge watch TV. I just watch a series that I want to catch up on, or a movie that I've been waiting to see, or just do nothing. Like just try. My do nothing doesn't last long though. I still feel like I need to do something, but mentally that's where I've been. But there's been like, there's still those um areas that of development that I still struggle with, and still trying to let go and let God and just try to be better, like, spiritually, so that um the things that I desire to see happen and change, especially like with my family dynamics. So my parents are divorcing, and how to navigate that space emotionally. It's been a lot of masking
Hmm.
to be honest. But um yeah, spiritually I've been just trying to walk through. Lately I've been doing my Black Girls Run thing with one of my friends. And that's been helping. So we've been like challenging each other to, like, run certain, like, these different speeds a week. So we run like 3 times a week, averaging about like 6 or 7 miles a week. Okay. So I'm just close to
Hey,
9. I know. I
better than me.
know. But just really trying to find just peace and solidarity for myself. Like, I'm really a bad, when I really get stressed though, like, my self care would be like window shopping online. Like, I need this, but I put everything in the cart, but I never buy. Like, if I'm
I want this, but I don't got the money for this, so it's just gonna
right,
sit there.
right. And sometimes I'm like, well, I can do Afterpay, like, I was like, because I have like good credit with him. No, I'm just playing, but like, sometimes you just think about those things, and I mean, whatever I figure out that balances me out. Just still trying to just navigate that whole thing. But for one, I do like therapy is really helpful because you can really just talk to your therapist, like,
About anything.
yeah, and like how you want to. It's not like a structure. It's like,
Hmm.
and then he was like, girl. And then I was like, look, and then you tell her like all your side comments that goes on in your mind. And she's like, and she engages in that. Well, mine's a female, but
Yeah.
like,
So
like,
my therapist is a female as well, and
mhm,
the thing like she does with me is like she knows how to like. I'm really good at changing the subject. So let's just say that.
right, right.
So like if I feel like it's getting too deep, I'll try to change the subject and she's good at like no, like we're going to go back to this. Um but like I can relate to you, right? I feel
Yeah,
like especially when things hit the fan and kind of you feel like everything's kind of crumbling down at once, it's easy to mask our emotions, right?
yeah.
It's easy to hide and pretend that everything's fine when in reality you're just like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm drowning, right?
Mhm,
But I do have a question for you because I feel
mhm,
like this is something like I experienced. So I'm curious if like you kind of experienced the same thing. Is like
mhm,
sometimes when you're the helper in the friend
mhm.
group and you're
Yeah.
always constantly giving advice, do you find it easy or do you struggle with opening up to them, or does it like, because you say you mask like those
Mhm,
feelings, right?
mhm.
So
Yeah.
is it a sense of like, do you feel like alone even though you're not alone, but it's
Mhm.
like you just don't know how to like really open up in a sense because it's like you're so used to like helping other people
Yeah.
that like you brush things aside so much that
Yeah.
it's like you don't know how to ask for that help with your friends.
Yeah, I would say yes. That happens to me often. I've been finding myself more and more though in a space of telling people like how I feel though.
Hmm.
I will say this. My core friends, I would say, like my day ones, my close friends, my circle, they are very receptive and understanding and supportive. And so when I tell them, like, for example, to be transparent, my plans were to graduate in August. But because of some things out of my control and some things that I can, it's just better if I defend in summer and then walk in December, based on just the timeline of some things. And when I first, like, I asked a real question in my dissertation chair about, do you foresee me walking in August? And she said, honestly, with all the things that are happening right now, with my project, not in a bad way, but just because there's still things that need to be done. She was like, I don't foresee that, but I foresee you defending in summer. And I was like, okay, I can appreciate that. But it still stung, right? Like, because you
Hmm.
have this expectation, like, I'm graduating this summer, like, so excited, you're telling everybody. But so the embarrassment of that, I was holding on to that, or what I felt was embarrassing, I shared with them, and they're like, we got you, like, whenever it's supposed to be, like, nobody's like upset, like, everybody's like, okay, like,
Right.
life still goes
Yeah.
on, we're gonna be there, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like in that moment it was like, wow, like, I was overthinking. And I say all that to say the support is always there, so that space to be able to be vulnerable with them is there. But I had to grow into that a little bit, or learn. And then, like, I've noticed, like, when working with organizations or associations or groups of people, leaders always don't agree. And
Hmm.
sometimes people get are being people go through things and then they project it on you, and you like, hold up, wait a minute, that's not energy. You know what I'm saying? And I've learned to, like, be petty and say little side comments, but also be like, okay, let's address the issue. Because we gotta work together. You know what I'm saying? And I found myself doing that more and more. Like, I'm gonna tell you what it is. We're gonna have a conversation, but I had to grow and learn into that. Like, that had to be poured into me, and I'm really thankful to Greg Moore. He's my boyfriend, y'all. That he's pushed that in me a little bit more. And you just have to be transparent. So that communication piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
I
can
think
see that.
that's the thing I've been learning too is just like being patient and being able to express, like, okay, I'm not having a good day. I might not have to go into every single detail, but I'm at
Right.
least to a point where I can express, like, hey, like, this is what's bothering me. And
Mm-hmm.
then going from there. But I was just curious because I feel like we're the same person in
Yeah.
certain aspects. And I was curious
Yeah.
if you struggled with that. Can I
Mm-hmm.
make a suggestion for you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, one thing that really helps me, since
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like to talk to people, which is crazy because I have a podcast, but like talking like emotional wise, like I don't really
Mm-hmm.
like to express how I'm feeling just because
Mm-hmm.
I get in my head a lot.
Yeah.
The one thing that helps me is journaling,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Everybody,
No,
everybody
no, no,
keeps
no, no.
saying that. No,
Listen,
I get,
listen.
I got you.
Like, I literally will like sit in my room, like I'll be on
Uh-huh.
my bed, I'll like dim the lights, I'll have my candles on, I'll have my
Okay.
music on, and I literally just sit there and write. Right? I might cry, I might do whatever. And it's like I have conversations with myself, right?
Mm,
It's kind of weird, but
it's
it
not.
works for me.
It's
So it's
normal.
like I literally say like, "Oh, like today like we did this," or you just have
Mm,
conversations and you just go through those things that are like
mm,
deep down that like you just like
mm-hmm,
don't want to talk to people about. And I've
mm-hmm.
seen a sense of relief, right?
Mm.
I don't do it every night, right? I just write when I feel like I need to write,
Okay.
right? So it could be I'll write on Monday and then I don't write again until Friday, or
Oh,
I'll write on Saturday and I don't write again until Tuesday. But it's ever
okay.
when I get that feeling where like I'm starting to feel like, okay, like I'm feeling overwhelmed, like there's this like gut feeling that like
Yeah.
I'm about to get into like my little sad boy hours. I will sit down and I will
Mhm.
put a pen to paper and write what I gotta write. And
Yeah.
it's just a process. So
Yeah. It
I
gives
say
you a
try
place.
it.
Yeah, a place of peace.
Hmm.
So I've heard that theme a lot, and I have nothing against journaling or writing. So here's my only thing with writing: my hand starts to hurt because I be writing too much. It's so because we don't really write anymore. We
Wow, I knew you
we
was gonna say that.
and
I
I
just,
and I'll
I
be
just.
like, and then so we try to get that last point out, and it's like, okay, it's hurting me,
But
but
the best part about journaling is you get to stop when you want to stop,
okay. So let me just
right?
receive it.
Because you're in control,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
You get to start when you start and stop when you stop,
Okay,
right? And it could be like one of those things where it's like, okay, like the thing is it doesn't have to be perfect, right?
right.
You can
Yeah.
just stop and be like, okay, I'm done. Like
Okay.
this did enough for me
Yeah,
today, right?
I
Because I
appreciate
get the same way. Like my hand will start to hurt or whatever, but it's also like, all right,
it.
like when you're feeling and you're just writing, you don't really focus on that until it's like, okay, like once you start to get to the point where like, okay, I'm running out of words, then you're like, okay, my
Okay.
hand freaking hurts and I need to stop.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it and use your way, your method. Nobody's ever told me that. They just be like, "Well, Lauren, you could just type it on your, or record your
No,
voice." But I like
stop when
it.
you stop. Like
Yeah.
it's your journal. Like you have control over it. You have control what you write. You have the freedom to be like, okay, I'm done. Like I don't want
Yeah.
to do this right now. Like
Okay.
it
I
doesn't
like that.
like, and that's the thing is like it's
Mhm.
for you. So
Okay.
don't force yourself to write. That makes sense, right?
Right.
Like I'm
Yes.
in this moment and like, okay, like I'm feeling this, and then once that feeling goes away, I stop because there's nothing else I
Oh,
need to write about. Like, does that make
that's really
sense?
yeah. That's
So
really good advice. Yeah.
so it's like when people think of journaling, they think of like, oh, you have a prompt and you have to answer this
Yeah.
question. But like really like journaling is whatever you make it, right? I
Yeah.
free write.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's just that process.
Yeah. Okay. I got you.
Try
I'm
it.
gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try it for you, Austin. And then I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna text you and be like, oh my gosh, I stopped when I stopped.
I'm gonna check in too. Like I'm gonna check in and be like, have you started?
I was like, now I gotta go buy me a cute journal. Let's go on Amazon. No, I'm just like,
My therapist gave me a journal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I told her, like, I was like, I want to start journaling again. And she was like, I got some. And then I got to pick one out, and it's
Oh,
leather,
nice.
and it's
Oh,
cool.
it's fancy. Give me some cool pins.
Got my gel pens,
Right,
just
right. The fancy stuff we don't need. We already got pins around the house. We probably, but you know,
Mm,
it makes it
but
right. You
it's
don't
your
want those,
journal.
right? You want to make it fancy. Okay, let me get my journal. I journal, y'all. No, I'm just, I'm a journaler.
No, I completely like when I first started, it was so therapeutic. And I used to write a lot in high school, and I just got away from it. And then
Hmm.
just recently, starting like a few weeks ago, I was like, I missed this.
Yeah. That's
So,
interesting that you said you did that a lot in high school. I think it's funny because so I used to always like so I'm only child. So like every time I watch
mhm.
like a Disney show or some kind of movie or like Nickelodeon, whatever show is on, you know, there's always some like they leave behind a journal and then the family finds it and reads it and like they talk about all the different things. Like I didn't know they said this about me. So when I used to get emotional, I used to like go journal and I'm like, I hope somebody finds my journal and reads. So that was like my like motive, like when I used to go journal. And I think I had like 3 or 4 journals, or like my little diary, dear
Mhm.
diary, today Jane, or whatever. But yeah, that was me.
That's funny.
It's
No,
like awkward.
I never like I would hide it. I would hide my
I
journal.
did too, in hopes that one day someone will find it.
No, I don't want people. I literally like. I was like, I don't want anyone to read this. Like, this is like
Oh,
my deepest, darkest feelings. Like,
oh,
I don't want anyone to read them. And it's crazy because I used to write poems back in the day, and it was
oh,
just like,
nice.
I say it like I'm old, but like,
Right.
it's like 10, 12 years ago.
You feel
No, but
old.
no, but I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. I know we've been trying to schedule this for a
I
while,
know.
but
I'm so sorry.
it is
I
all
said,
good. I am very flexible. I get it because I'm busy all the time too. So
mhm.
I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk and catch up. I'm super
Yeah.
proud of you and
Thank
everything that you
you.
have going for yourself. I'm excited to see where this next chapter takes you. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where life takes you in general. And I'm
Right.
excited to see your podcast grow, and I will help you
Yeah.
do that. So
Yay. We're gonna work collaboratively. We're a team.
yes, for
Yeah.
sure, for
Hmm.
sure. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I feel like I haven't seen you in forever too, because
I know. Are
I
you
don't
you
go
don't
out.
I was
I
about
don't
to say you don't be out anymore.
no. Ever like since COVID happened, like
Mhm.
no, I just don't see the point in it. Honestly, like it's
Yeah.
just I would rather like oh like let's go get dinner or like something like that, but going to a
Yeah.
bar, not my thing.
Yeah. It's weird because I get nervous around people. I be like, oh, it's too many folks over here. We gotta
Right? I'm
go.
bouncing.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say thank you again. If anyone wants to continue having a conversation with you about anything that we've talked about today,
Mhm.
what would be the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Ooh, best way. Okay, you can follow me on Instagram at L Prather, so Lprather, or you can follow, and then you can also follow our speech T page is at speech_T. But if you go on my page and then you click on my little bio, it's there, so you can do that. Or DM me, then DM us anything. So that's more of my SLP page, but personal page you could go because I don't really post a lot of SLP stuff on my page because it's my personal page. So
Right. You got to
yeah,
have the balance.
yeah,
No, I do appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again. I
yeah.
am going to put all of Lauren's information in the description below. If you all happen to reach out, please notate on how you found her, just so she has an idea, so she's
Yes.
not a little weirded out. I'm kidding. Also, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms at Ignite Your Why. That's INGYTE, not with an I. We are on all platforms. That's YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Everything's at Ignite Your Why. So make sure you give us a follow. And thank you all for tuning in. And always remember, find your purpose and ignite your why. Peace.